Welcome to the Cloth Diaper Podcast. This is episode 34, and we are returning to what's hopefully regular programming. My name is Bailey, and I am the host of the Cloth Diaper Podcast. I am a mom of 2 kids, a cloth diaper blogger for years, and we've been doing this podcast thing for about a year, if this is the first time you're joining me. We celebrated a year in July, and then I kind of ghosted you for the last month or so. I apologize. I kind of got overwhelmed with summer. I mean, your kids get off the routine, and suddenly you're like, now what do I do with my life? And it was really hard to continue to do the things that I always did. And I was enjoying summer because here in northern British Columbia, we do not get much summer. Our summer has been cold. I have been wearing sweaters all year, so I'm kind of feeling a little bit bitter. I'm trying not to, but we're there. Today marks what's hopefully a rebrand of sorts for the Cloth Diaper Podcast. I'm excited to be bringing back more shows. I have a couple of recorded episodes with other bloggers and content creators, as well as the ending of Jay's Nest to kind of weave into the fall term. We might end up with shows every week or every other week, depending on how my schedule goes. My kids are going back to preschool soon. They're going back to daycare, but I'm also looking for a somewhat regular part-time job that pays. So who knows how things will evolve, but I am hoping to continue on with this show. Starting with today's episode, which is a chat with Bambino Mio. Bambino Mio is an UK-based cloth diaper company. They produce a variety of different products, and today I'm joined with Guy. I am just going to jump into our conversation right here. I hope you enjoy. I'll always start with your story. So I was reading online that your cloth diaper story kind of started in an unusual place. You weren't even parents yet. You were in India. How did that kind of evolve and come to be? What an odd story in this space.
It's a strange, but as you say, well-documented story. So Joe and I I was working training in accountancy, and Joe was working for Marks and Spencer's, if you know, big retailer in the UK. And Joe was made redundant. She was a management trainee with Marks and Spencer's. As I say, I was probably the worst accountancy trainee my firm had ever had. And so we both decided to travel for a bit. This was back in 1991. I'd always wanted to run my own business. There were lots of things my family will identify as sort of entrepreneurial things I did as a child. But I'd always wanted to run my own business. So we travelled out of Europe and left the UK end of September in 1991, and our first stop was India. So we were looking for business ideas. We were talking to a guy from New York. We were at the Taj Mahal. It was one of those nights where it was very busy because it was a full moon, and a lot of people go and see the Taj Mahal on a night like that. And we were standing at the classic position, looking down at the Taj Mahal and talking to this guy about cloth diapers, and specifically cloth diaper services in New York, which had been quite big in the 80s. Yeah. There were a lot of diaper services around in those days. And as we travelled around, we went up to Nepal and ended up meeting a couple from Canada who talked about the same thing, talked about diaper laundry services. And then when we got to Australia, which is where we sort of stopped for our travels to earn a bit of money, I was cutting grass for Sydney Council and would see diaper laundry vans driving around in Sydney. When we got to New Zealand, we visited a diaper laundry service there. So mid-1992, June 1992, we came back to the UK and started one of the first, as we would call it in the UK, nappy laundry services. Okay. There were a few about at that time, more than we thought. There were probably 30 or so in the UK that sort of set up around our time. And so sort of that's how we got started.
Yeah, because sometimes if you're not looking for it, you don't know that service even exists. So that's what I was kind of... And since then, that's evolved. You're not offering a nappy service anymore, correct? You now manufacture...
No, that's right. I mean, we ran that for from 1992 for a few years, 4 or 5 years. It was, I think what we realised, it was never going to be particularly scalable in our case. We grew, but the customer numbers were always small. But what it did do with running a diaper laundry service is it gave us fantastic experience of the product. Obviously, with a diaper laundry service, you're delivering every week. If parents aren't happy with the product or they're not getting on with it, you would turn up and they would stop using the service. And so you had to make sure that you were providing products that worked and a good service. So actually, it really helped with the understanding of the product. So we finished the diaper laundry service in 1998, 97, 98. And as we got to the end, one of the things was more and more people were asking to buy the products to wash at home because obviously the cost of a diaper laundry service is sort of equivalent to disposables. And we see certainly with our customers that money saving is a big issue for them, as well as all the other reasons why people would use cloth. So actually more people were looking to buy. So what actually happened is we closed the diaper laundry service down and set up Bambino Mio, which was in those early days was just a brochure of products. We didn't have the Mio Solo, the all-in-one at that time. It was our Mio Soft sort of two-piece system, pre-fold and covers. But we had swim diapers, we had training pants, we had liners. But it was just a brochure, and it was pre-internet days. So it was just small classified ads in the back of all the baby magazines in the UK, and people would phone up or write in for a brochure. We'd send a brochure and order form. They'd send the order form. We'd pack up the order, and we were working from home in those days, and then just dispatch the orders. And that's how we started.
And how things have changed, hey? Like, that's not how you're ordering diapers today. Do you miss that simplicity almost, or do you find there was something online easier?
I mean, it is. Of course, it's much easier now in terms. There was some. Yes, it was very simple, and it was simple times. It was just Joe and I in those days. I think we had one other employee when we first started, and we were just selling mail order. And obviously, in those days in the UK, everybody was using disposables. But we had a real belief in what we were wanting to do, and I think. If you look now, and obviously as you were aware, we're a much bigger company now, selling all over the world, and instead of just Joe and I, there's sort of over 80 of us now work at Bambino Mio.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
And it's growing very, very fast. But it's so in some ways, it's a good point. We miss those simple days at the beginning, but I suppose we've got to a place we always wanted to get to, and our mission statement at the start was always to make. It was very simple. It was to make reusable nappies, cloth diapers, commercially acceptable worldwide. When we started, what cloth diapers meant in the UK was really just a pile of old-fashioned terry toweling nappies with pins sitting in the back of a specialty retailer collecting dust. But we had a real belief that this product had a real place, and actually with the right marketing, and actually if you could make it look and feel like any other mainstream baby product, and the advantage we have in baby, of course, is that people come to it fresh. They want to absorb in the information. First-time parents want to know all about it. So you can make your mark as a small company with a different product that we set out to make it commercially acceptable worldwide, and hopefully we've done our bit to contribute to that, because Bambino Mio can now be found on supermarket shelves and pharmacy shelves all over the world.
Yeah, that's an amazing feat, really, to accomplish, to have it in commercial locations where people, like in retail, brick and mortar retail, that's not necessarily cloth diaper related. That's just mainstream.
That's right, and that's always been our sort of strategy. And I think the fantastic thing is certainly when we started, there were often retailers who would produce their own brand of cloth diapers, which never performed particularly well, and actually. Parents took the attitude that maybe cloth diapers wasn't for them, not because cloth diapers wasn't for them, but actually their experience with one specific brand hadn't been good. I think the great thing is now there are so many fantastic brands and fantastic products around the world that actually, whether people go for Bambino Mio or any of the other wonderful brands that are out there, the industry and the profile of the product is so different, which makes it a great industry to be in.
Yeah, it's really kind of changed and evolved. So how have your products changed and evolved? Have they over the last decade? Have you been?
Yes, definitely. So we launched. If we're talking about the diapers themselves, we started with the pre-fold and diaper cover, which was what we were using, what we knew, what we were working with in the diaper laundry service, and it's still a really popular product, which is purchased and enjoyed by lots and lots of parents. But what we found is that for parents who wanted to give it a go or try it, or maybe essentially were disposable users, there needed to be a product in between. We initially wanted to find a product that was easier to use, and also we were starting to get into the grocery stores at that point, and actually trying to sell a two-piece system, which at that time had 5 sizes of diaper covers, 2 sizes of diapers. Trying to explain all that on a supermarket grocery shelf, very, very difficult. And actually, it was a time in 2007, 2008, all-in-ones were getting more profile. And certainly, as the customer base grew from just being sort of committed cloth diaper users in the nicety of used cloth diapers, as the market was growing and more people were coming from disposables and trying, you needed something a bit simpler and easy to use, which is where our sort of all-in-one Mio Solo was born in 2010. And we launched the initial one. I think one of the things we changed on it, if you look back to 2010, for one thing, they were all just plain colours. Yeah. They were very functional. But certainly over time, we then started introducing sort of basic prints on them. We then worked with a couple of external artists. And actually, in the last year and a half, we've had Laura, who works in our office, who is a graphic artist, and she designs them all. So hopefully, all the people who buy our products have seen how those prints have developed, and how it's really popular.
That's a really fun fact that you see one of your employees is doing the graphic design. It's always kind of fun to know where those prints come from. And that's been a real trend we've seen in the cloth diaper space, is a transition from solids into these trendy, fun prints, which really attract people's attention.
And I think for us, the great thing is each year, as you may or may not have seen, we sort of try and have a story around it. So this year's story is Bug's Life. Yeah. And it's all around insects. And we've just, actually last week or the week before, launched 2 more prints within that range. But because our product range has increased slightly, so those prints then you see appearing on the washable change mat, on the Mio and the Mio soft covers, on the wet diaper bag. We have it in the liner in the change bag that we launched last year. We launched a change bag specifically for cloth diaper users, and some of the lining uses the printed fabric. We also have some of the characters and the elements printed on muslin squares and swaddles. So actually, it tells a whole story, which is also really nice and brings it together and means there's something then to go to the market with, to help non-cloth diaper users sort of really understand it and engage with it.
Yeah. That's such a fun thing to do for your consumers. Yeah. So one thing I had, though, this is my first UK brand on the phone, is I wanted to ask about why hook and loop or Velcro is so popular over in the UK versus snaps, which are so popular in North America. What do you think is that difference? Why are poppers not a common thing to see in UK brands?
I think sort of over I suppose nearly 30 years, it's scary to say that I've been in the industry here. Hook and loop has always been something that has been popular. I mean, I think because there were the diaper laundry services before, and they were all using hook and loop type diaper covers. We've also, I mean, I think the thing about hook and loop, we've always sold it on the idea that it's an easy thing to use and adjust the size, and it obviously adjust at the front of the diaper. And I think we've always insisted and always sourced sort of really good quality hook and loop. I think as people who use cloth diapers know, there's a real range of hook and loop. Oh yes. You can have some that will stick to clothes. I mean, we have our tabs on ours. Which I was watching your
the tabs are fantastic.
I was watching you talk about that on your YouTube channel, because I was watching the film you did about our product yesterday evening, and you identified the tabs, and the tabs are great. But
they're amazing.
I think the quality of hook and loop, and we know we have customers write in who've used our product either themselves for more than one baby, or they've passed it on to family or friends for more than one baby. And if they've used the tabs and they've looked after it and washed at the right temperature, the hook and loop is still in really good condition, so it doesn't deteriorate. And I think bits I've read, and I'm not claiming to be an expert, there are people who've had bad experiences of hook and loop, and I think if you've had that bad experience, that then spreads because, quite rightly, people talk about the product and it's easy to get that information. And I think that then sort of becomes part of hook and loop. Is the myth of hook and loop is not necessarily good for cloth diapers. But as I said at the outset, I think the thing about cloth diapers is, one brand or one type of cloth diaper to one person, they'll say it's absolutely fantastic and they think it's the best thing ever. It won't be right for others. And I think having that mix is really important. And I think as we do more and more in the US market and in the Canadian market as well, I think what's nice for us is we're offering the consumer something different. It won't be for everybody, and I know it won't be for everybody, but I think if you read some of the reviews or on Facebook, there's a percentage of people who really like the hook and loop, and at least they can feel with Bambino Mio that they're getting a quality product.
It's definitely like a gap in the industry here in North America, that when people ask for hook and loop options, the only options are really, Bambino Mio and Tot Spots, and there's a couple American, but they're not as popular. Do you have some tips though for parents who might have a toddler who loves to unhook their hook and loop? What are some things that you might suggest to a parent?
The obvious one, and we all know why that happens. I remember when I first asked about this, and because what happens, and we did it with them, and we have 3 children, so I mean, two of them are in their 20s now, one's 14, so they're a long time out of diapers. But of course, the problem is the first time they do it, everybody laughs and claps and thinks it's really funny. But when they do it for the 50th or 60th time, it's not so funny anymore.
No, it's not.
So I think, I mean, that's the first thing. But you can't tell parents. You can't tell parents, quite rightly, not to do that. To be honest, it's not. I know that it happens, and I've seen it in our own children. I've heard anecdotally. I've heard, especially when in the 2-piece system that we do, with the pre-folds and the covers, sometimes people put them on back to front with a toddler, so they can't actually reach the tabs. I've heard that anecdotally that works for some people, but I think I mean our Velcro is quite. Especially on the Mio soft covers, is quite strong. So it's not something that easily comes off. But obviously, you've got a strong toddler, it is going to happen, and you just hope that they'll stop doing it.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those. I mean, and I grew up, or not grew up, but I cloth diapered mostly with snaps, and they'll still undo a snap as well. Like a strong toddler will get anything off if they're determined. It's really
exactly.
So one of the most frequently asked questions that I got from a lot of people was if you guys have any plans to make a natural fiber diaper or switching out the quality of your absorbency in your products. That seems to be a frustration. I had a lot of people comment that they're cutting out your microfiber and just using them as pockets with pre-folds.
And certainly that, I mean, we always view our product as an entry level product. So we do lots of work with grocery. I mean, in Europe, in Australia, we do lots of work with Aldi. I don't think you have Aldi in Canada, although US, we've done stuff with US Aldi. So Aldi are a well-known German discount retailer. And so that gets lots of people into the product because they'll promote our product for a very short period of time. So it's only available for a few days in a baby event. But it gets many thousands of people into the product. But we see it as an entry level where some people, and I think I take your point that some people say that our diapers aren't absorbent enough, whereas actually you can read with other people that they use our diapers and they are really absorbent. And if they use our Mio boosters, they've lasted 10, 12 hours overnight. And I think that's that thing about different people.
Yeah, absorbency is super variable for person to person. Yeah, and that's a hard thing. All brands would, like, there's always going to be a brand that's never absorbent enough.
Yeah, no, and I think, and so we find that a lot of, and we did quite a bit of market research and talking to consumers. We did a huge insights project actually at the beginning of the year, sort of really trying to understand how parents use our products and use cloth diapers in general, and what are the barriers to entry and what stops them using, if they don't get, reasons why they don't get on with it. But I think with Bambino Mio, it's very much seen as an entry point, and some people will move on to our Mio Soft two-piece system. Mm-hmm. Some people are quite happy to stay with the Solo, and some people will move on to other brands as they learn more and find specific brands that suit their needs. And I'm really encouraged by that in some ways, because I think the problem that we all suffer from, and this came out of the insights work that we did, is that some people, whereas with a disposable diaper, if that leaks, as they all will at some point, or that it leaks frequently or doesn't work for them, they will just move to another brand of disposable diaper. Mm-hmm. Often when people get leaks with cloth diapers, they move to disposables. They don't think, well, maybe this particular brand isn't right for me, or isn't the best fit for me, which is quite frustrating. But actually, I think what you see, we certainly see in Europe, and hopefully you see it in Canada and the US as well, is that if you can have a good quality, easy to use diaper as an entry point, then some will move on to another diaper within our range, but many will move on to other brands, and their stash will become a mixture of many different types of diapers. So actually, to come back to your question, which is, I think, was about cutting
natural
out
fibers.
With natural fiber. So we are looking, we constantly look at, our head of product is constantly looking at other fabrics that are about, but I think and we try as a brand to look at it from both angles. One is about performance, so how well it will wash, how well the stains will come out, how quickly it will dry, but also it's about environment as well, because single-use plastic is huge on the agenda at the moment, quite rightly, and diapers is often the forgotten part of that. I mean, with my other hat on, I chair and have done for about nearly 15, 20 years, our trade organisation. So we spend a lot of time doing political activity and lobbying, working with politicians and environment groups, trying to ensure that when single-use plastics are talked about, so the obvious ones like coffee cups and straws and plastic cutlery, the diapers aren't forgotten, because for politicians, talking about diapers and telling parents what diapers they should be using is always a bit concerning. And we've always talked about that actually it's not about banning them, and as much as done with the other single-use plastics. It's about an education. It's about giving parents a choice, because what we find more and more is there's an ever-growing number of parents who want to find alternatives to throwing away disposables every day, but actually just need that information. They don't need to be told not to do it. And plenty of our customers, we know, use some disposables and use some cloth, and there's more and more people who are doing that. And actually, when they get into it, they can see how easy it is, so they use it more and more. So so in terms of material, to come back to your question, in terms of materials, not only are we looking at the absorbency and drying times, we're also looking at environmental impact, because everything has environmental impact.
Everything, yeah.
We use microfiber in our diapers at the moment, and we do quite a lot of testing in terms of how much microplastic that will shed and where that fits with the general shedding of microplastic, which everybody gets on all clothing.
Yeah.
But actually, when we talk we work with experts on this, and there's a specific one we work with in the UK, who actually is campaigning very hard with microplastics. And I know in a conversation a few weeks ago with him, he was saying, don't stop using that from an environmental point of view, because actually if you look at bamboo, if you look at cotton, everything has the environmental impact in terms of water, pesticides, the whole lot. And I don't think anybody can, and it is about offering that choice to consumers so they can make the choice. So we have the microfiber, which some people really like and works really well and dries quickly and has many plus points from the environment side, but we also have the pre-fold, which are 100% cotton. So that's offering something different again. So to answer your question, I'm sure in the future, I mean, we're constantly looking at all these other fabrics that are available.
Okay.
And so I'm sure at some point we will be, and it's about size of markets as well, because actually if the market becomes big enough for a different fabric for our products, certainly we'll look at that. But part of it is about making sure that we don't get too confusing. I think as a brand, Bambino Mio, we want to be simple and straightforward. So it's back to that being commercial and trying. I mean, we've always aimed for the mainstream. That's why we're in the supermarkets. We want to bring more people to using cloth diapers, and if some of those start using other brands, that's fine. We're not precious about it. But actually, by being simple in our message and going for best performance and simple, hopefully that will make it easier for parents to cross that barrier from thinking about using cloth diapers to actually giving it a go.
Yeah, and I think I've heard from a lot of brands the same kind of rhetoric. And if we get into the marketplace and we get into the mainstream, like, it works for all of us. Like, the entire cloth diaper industry will benefit if we can just get over a lot of that fear and education and just even knowing about cloth diapers, right? I mean, the disposable diaper market has done an amazing job with marketing over the last couple generations. So we definitely have a long way to go, but there's optimism, right? Like, with brands like you who are spending time to do that, and other brands creating products to meet other needs, right? So just focus on a niche and meet that demand that you have. Something that's been really...
and I think the wonderful thing for us is, I mean, we do marketing. Digital marketing is a real focus for us. So we. I mean, there's 11 markets where we operate directly, where we have a local website. We work with retailers direct. We have our social media specifically for that country. Every country we're working directly with, we have nationals of that country working in our office here. So 40% of our staff are non-UK. We have I think we worked out the other day, we have every European language spoken in our office.
Oh, wow.
And nearly half of those 80 people just work in marketing. And so actually what that does is it means hopefully we have quite close relationships with our customers through social, through email, through the website. So in terms of getting the message out there, it's the dawn of digital marketing really helps companies of our size be able to reach the companies that are looking, the customers that are looking for our products.
Yeah.
In a way that none of us would ever be able to do 20 or 30 years ago, when it was just a few huge corporates selling to millions and tens of millions of people. The world is now social media and online has given the ability of many companies to sell to many niche groups, which is great and great for the industry.
Yeah. So one of the things that has been really important to me over the last year has been talking about transparency around manufacturing. So I was reading that you visited your factory and your diapers are made in China. What could you share with listeners about your manufacturing and your confidence in your facility?
So we do manufacture a bit in Europe as well. We have a facility we use in Lithuania. We make a few products in Spain, and actually we do have one or two products made in the UK as well.
Okay.
But actually, it's not possible for us really to, on the scale that we are now, find manufacturing facilities in Europe that can manufacture the volume at the quality that we need. So I suppose 75% of what we manufacture comes out of two factories in China.
Okay.
Both of whom we've worked with for nearly 20 years. I've visited them on many occasions. They've visited us on many occasions. We have, as well as all the sort of quality for the products, we do a lot of work on sort of ethical best practice. Mm-hmm. So they're all audited using an organisation called SEDEX, which is actually the factories are registered on SEDEX and they're there for public view. We also send in our own, as well as SEDEX, which is a recognised ethical audit. We also send in our own people, sometimes unannounced, to audits as well. But I think if people want to take reassurance, and they're brilliant factories, they work with a number of other well-known quality baby products that you would know. But also because we're working with some really high-profile grocery and international retailers, they actually also send in auditors to re-audit the factory. So it's sort of happening at about 4 levels. So we have the relationship, and we go in on a regular basis and visit, and they're great factories, and in actual fact, conditions and quality. And I mean, what a lot of people don't realise, which I didn't realise straight away, is actually labour laws in China are much stricter than in Europe and in the US.
Oh yeah, and then they're changing rapidly too. Like they're really evolving. And but it's always great to hear it from the mouth of a brand owner that they've been there and that they're very happy with the relationship with their factory. That's
and you'll
those are the
always
words
get
I love to hear.
Yeah, but you'll always get factories, whether they be in China, US, or Europe, where they don't follow the law. The one thing that we know is that even though Chinese law is tighter around overtime, hours worked, payment, etc., because we have them SEDEX audited, and then auditors from these large retailers go in, they have to be following exactly the Chinese law to the letter, and so we know it's sort of even better in terms of conditions and the way that workers are treated than, say, as I say, many European and US factories. So yeah, we have a long history. There's always the question mark over shipping and having to ship around the world, but we have. I mean, one of our biggest markets is now Australia. We're doing more in the US, where we're shipping goods. Because we have those goods in China, it means that there's less distance for it to travel around the world.
Yeah, I love to hear that. It's just that confirmation is kind of something that I really enjoy hearing. And making less assumptions and trying to make sure we hear. Yeah. What do you feel has been one of the biggest shifts over the 20, 30 years that you've been in the cloth diaper space?
Oh, I mean, the change in consumer attitudes to our products are just incredible. I mean, I remember when we first started the diaper laundry service back in 1992. I visited a local antenatal class. Does that translate? Yeah, that's not something that UK English speak. And I went to an antenatal class, and I might as well have just stepped off a spaceship for what I was saying. I just had a room full of people who just thought I was completely mad in terms of what I was saying to them. And the change from that, and people saying, well, do these things work? Do they do it? And say, what a ridiculous concept, and being completely alien to where we are now, and listed in the major retailers in the UK, Germany, Australia, and we're seeing that happening in some of our other markets as well, in terms of the major retailers. It's just a massive change and consumer awareness. And I think for me, over the last few years, sitting in the most bizarre meetings, bizarre in terms of where we are, and what I'm doing, or even on a personal level, where I meet people and people say, yes, I use your product, and my friend used your product, and your product's brilliant, and actually that awareness about about cloth diapers, but also about Bambino Mio in general, that change has been incredible, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's such a great positive change to have seen over the last couple decades that you've been in here. So my last question for today is, what can we expect from you in the future? Where are you hoping to going? Do you have any goals to meet, or anything exciting we should know about in the next year or two?
I think for us, we certainly want to. We've set ourselves ambitious targets to continue to grow at the rate we're growing. We've got a few new product innovations coming along, although we will always remain focused on what we term change time products, so everything within the diaper type category. And so swim diapers, for example, are very big for us, and we've launched this year a matching rash vest. We've launched a change mat, a swim diaper change mat, for the beach or for the pool. So those sort of associated products. So we've got more new products coming through.
Awesome.
As I mentioned, we carried out a big consumer insights project at the beginning of the year to really understand. We knew there was more and more parents coming to this category.
Mm-hmm.
We were seeing that from our sales of swim diapers and training pants as well, because they're a big driver, the first product that people get into before they sort of go the full way and go into diapers. So we're seeing more and more people come into that, and more families wanting to live sustainable lifestyle. But what we wanted to know was what was the barrier that was stopping them sort of actually go for it with cloth diapers. Because what we found is most people who were using them were quite happy with them and we're using them fine. So that's giving us fantastic insight in terms of how to help educate and support people on their cloth diaper journey. Mm-hmm. So that's beginning to, you will see that come into sort of our marketing and general conversation with customers over the next while, using those experience and continual international expansion. We want to keep. The thing is, for cloth diapers and Bambino Mio, it applies to so many countries around the world are looking for alternatives to single-use plastics. Yeah. And I think more and more people are realizing that diapers, I mean, if you go to Africa or less developed countries, diapers is a far bigger problem than it is in the Western world, because they don't have their waste collected on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks like most of us. They're just it's thrown into the street, and actually dealing with disposable diapers is a real big headache. And so around the world, I think there's real opportunities as we develop for the product to be a proper global product. And then finally the political cooperation. As I say, we do a lot of lobbying in the UK. There's a bill going through Parliament at the moment, the nappy bill, which is designed to stop disposable companies making eco claims. So you know how they claim to be eco-friendly, they claim to be biodegradable, they claim to be compostable. In most places, those products will, even if they are never going to biodegrade or be compostable, because most local governments don't have the
facilities to do it.
Yeah. And otherwise they'll just end up in landfill like everything else. So there's a bill going through to stop disposable manufacturers making these claims, and also to encourage local government to promote cloth diapers, because they can save money by doing that. So it's all a very exciting journey at the moment.
Yeah, I've definitely heard a big international trend right now with cloth diapering from other brands that I talk to online. So cool to hear you also having that experience. That because cloth or reusable disposable nappies are really having a problem for a lot of places. But we'll have to pay attention to that nappy bill for you guys in the UK and see how it goes, and see if it ripples across other countries, right?
There's initiatives about single-use plastics coming out of Europe, coming out of the UN, coming out of other non-government organisations, and it's just important, I think, that cloth diapers don't get forgotten, that they are a really important part of that. You may have seen, so the island of Vanuatu in the Pacific is the first country in the world to ban disposable nappies from next year.
Yeah, so it'll be exciting future we see here politically for nappies, potentially. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Guy. You guys, Bambino Mio is on Facebook, right? And Instagram, and everywhere pretty much, right? We can find you. I hope you enjoyed the show today with Guy. If you're looking for the show notes for more information from today's show, definitely check out Cloth Diaper Podcast /show-34. You can also find the Cloth Diaper Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to Apple Podcasts. Not Apple Podcasts, but podcasts in general. Make sure you've subscribed, give a review if you like the show. And if you have any suggestions, or you want to be on the show, or you want another brand, on the show, give them a nudge, encourage them to come check it out. I'm excited for a new season launch, hopefully to get busy. We've got some great brands coming up along the way, a few brands you've never heard of, a few bloggers you've never heard of, but nonetheless, the story still exists. If you want to be on the show, email me, bailey@clotdiaperpodcast.com, and I think that's about it. I do have some exciting news about the flat and hand washing challenge that I announced at the end of August. So if you haven't been over to Instagram or Facebook, go check that out. And we'll talk to you guys either next week or the week after. Until next time, bye.